welcome to today's video. So I recently bought a peck of beautiful golden delicious apples, and all through the month of December I'm going to be cooking them. And in this video I'm going to show you everything that I cooked to use up this peck of apples. I've never bought a peck of anything in my life. Golden delicious apples are so good for cooking. They just have a really good texture after you cook them, and they're also not too sweet but also not too sour. Honestly, these are great just eating on their own. I've actually already eaten a couple, so the first way you can use them is you can just eat them plain. They are delicious. You will love them. Golden delicious apples are by far my favorite. Another way to use up these beautiful golden delicious apples is through baking an apple crumble, which I'm going to show you all tonight. Alrighty guys, this apple crumble recipe is foolproof and delicious. What you're going to do is you're going to start off with as many apples as it takes to fill up your baking pan. It doesn't matter, right here I'm starting with 2, but I do add 1 later. I just left the skins on the apples because they don't bother me at all after they've already cooked. To the apples, you're going to add some granulated sugar as well as some cinnamon. I never really follow a recipe when it comes to this. I just add as much as I want. You also want to add a good squeeze of half a lemon. I feel like the lemon really balances out the apple crumble. It gives it that tartness, and you kind of do taste it even after it's like baked. I don't know, I just really enjoyed the lemon in there. Now ideally you could mix up the cinnamon and sugar, but I just can't be bothered, so I'm just mixing it up here. Okay, this is a warning. If you're baking this, don't try the apples at this stage because they are so delicious you can't really stop yourself. That's why I had to add an extra apple here, because I was like, you know what, there's just not enough. I just need a little bit more apples in this. Alrighty, now we're going to start the most delicious part, which is the crumble that is on top. What I'm doing is just chopping up some butter. You guys can melt this if you want, but I can't be bothered, and chopping it works just fine. I'm just chopping it so it's in little bitsy pieces whenever I mix it with the flour and brown sugar, that whenever it bakes it will melt and just become this beautiful delicious crumble on top. And then you're going to want to add some flour and then equal parts brown sugar. That's a good rule of thumb. So here I'm just eyeballing that I'm getting an equal amount of brown sugar to the flour ratio. I also add a little bit of salt in there to kind of balance it out, make it delicious. And then I get my fingers in there and I really crumble up that butter into bite-sized pieces. This is really similar to like when you're making biscuit dough. It's like you're just kind of getting your hands in there and crumbling up that butter. So here, all I'm doing is putting it on top, which is my favorite part because then you get to see how delicious it's going to be. Guys, I made this recipe literally 3 times in the course of 2 weeks. That's how much my husband and I were absolutely obsessed with this apple crumble. Plus, this is a super easy weeknight dessert that you can easily throw together, and it's not that complicated. So you'll throw it in the oven for 40 minutes, and then it comes out looking like this. Oh my gosh, guys, it is so good. I ate it with a cinnamon roll ice cream, which was the perfect pairing. I highly recommend this. Y'all gotta try this. The next thing I did with these beautiful golden delicious is make some good old simple cooked apples. My grandma makes these all the time. They're literally just sliced apples without the peel, cooked in butter and a little bit of sugar. For 2 apples, I did 2 tablespoons of butter, as you can see here, and I just kind of throw it in there. You just want to cook them on kind of a medium heat until they get low. You want to make sure you don't do it too high, and I just do a touch of sugar. You really don't need much, just a little bit. This is one of the best weeknight desserts because it is so simple and easy, but it's also super delicious if you like butter. In this family, we all love butter. This next recipe is for apple crumble cookies, which are actually really delicious. It's a fun way to make apple crumble without the mess of plates and stuff, so for parties and stuff, these cookies are a hit. Now is the time for Christmas parties and work get-togethers, so if you have extra apples laying around, you might want to check out this recipe. With these apple crumble cookies, you'll find that it's a lot of the same ingredients, just a little bit different. So I have melted butter. I'm adding some brown sugar here. Cookies just have a different texture than regular apple crumble, so you have to do things a little differently. Of course, you got to add the eggs to bind it all together, and a little bit of vanilla extract as well. So we're going to add in our flour as well as our cinnamon that gives us that good apple crumble flavor. We also have to add the basics of a cookie like baking soda, mix that together. Now this cookie is mostly an oatmeal cookie, so it's got a good amount of oatmeal in it, which honestly gives it that really good texture. Traditionally, I don't love apple crumble just to have a ton of oatmeal in it, but in this cookie, it is so good. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop off my apples that I'm gonna throw into these cookies. I want them pretty small so that I'm not getting like a giant chunk in them. Then you just add them to a cookie sheet, and really it's as simple as that. Now, I've learned in this video, I'm making them way too big. They like to flatten out a bit, but I love that they flatten out because they get crunchy ends, and those crunchy ends are the best part of the cookie. So I do like that. Just maybe space it out a bit. Don't put that many in there. I might have made them a little too big. Let me show you. Oh no, it smells so good in here. Brought you out. They look incredible. Like, look at these. Yeah, my cookie sheet's just a tad bit small, and I think I made them a tad bit big. They still tasted good though. So the final thing that we're going to be doing with these apples is making applesauce. They're getting a little bit older now. The skin is a tiny bit wrinkly. It's definitely not gone bad, as you can see. It still looks like a good apple, but I think I'm going to be making applesauce with them because they're not really quite great to like crunch on, but I think applesauce would be perfect. I have 11 apples left, so we're going to be using all of those apples to make applesauce. I'm hoping to fill 6 pints. Don't know if I'll get that far. Honestly, if I can get 2 or 3, I'll be super happy. I am prepping for 6 pints. The method of canning that I'm going to be using is open kettle canning. This way is very simple, so I'm excited to try it. I've never done it before, so hopefully at least 1 or 2 pops. So the first step in making applesauce is to make sure all your apples are super clean. You'd be surprised how dirty these bad boys were. So I'm just kind of lining them up and I'm cutting chunks out. Now you can peel them beforehand. If you peel them beforehand, you don't really have to worry about blending it and making sure that the skin is incorporated. I kind of left too much skin in it and I didn't really like that extra texture. It wasn't bad, like I'm still gonna eat them, but I don't know, just something to think about. So I'm just adding these to the largest pot that I own so I can put it on the stove and let it get cooking. So right now I got it all in there with 2 cups of water and I have it on kind of high and I'm just kind of letting it cook down. I hear it boiling in there, so I'm just gonna leave this until it starts to get cooked down. While the apples are cooking down, I'm using this time to prep and clean all of my mason jars that I'm going to be using today. After I was looking at everything cooking down, I realized I probably only need about 4. So I decided to only use 4 with my open kettle canning. So I went ahead and put those in the oven. Those have to get warm for about 10 minutes. Of course, I have my little helper there in the kitchen. Now to the applesauce, I did add a little bit of sugar just because I like my applesauce a little bit sweeter. I also added a splash of cinnamon that I forgot to film. So I'm just letting my applesauce really break down during this time. Now I'm prepping for my open kettle canning. So I have the lids in that little pot simmering on low just so they can get warm. And I have to pull all of the glasses out of the oven. You kind of have to touch the lids, so I'm hoping this will work. These. I decided to only do 4 because we don't have a ton. So we got all these. Ladle it. So I'm just ladling everything into my jars. You can tell this is the first time I've ever done something like this because I am completely guessing on everything. And you can see halfway through I was like, wait, I think I need to put these on there so that it can trap in some of that heat that's coming out. I know with this step you have to be super fast. And I was successful in doing this open kettle canning to the best of my knowledge. But yeah, I was just trying to be clean and fast and making sure I was doing all the steps I needed to. Put it on there, tight. Put it upside down. Okay, we're gonna leave it upside down for 5 minutes. Of course, with the little bit that I had over, I was gonna use as a snack because, guys, this was a lot of work. I need a snack by now. So I made 4 pints and this much, and I'll definitely be eating this. Whoa, that's pretty good. You definitely taste the cinnamon. I didn't even add that much. It's still good though. Where it's warm. Next time, I don't think I'm gonna add the cinnamon, and then if I want cinnamon applesauce, I'll add it later. But this is still really good, don't get me wrong, but that's what I would do next time. Hopefully my open kettle canning worked. If not, it's no big deal. I'm sure we will eat it, or we can give it to family that will eat it here pretty soon, but I really hope it works. So I was sitting on the couch watching TV while these cooled, and I heard 2 of them pop already. So I don't know which ones. I think it's these 2, but they popped. I accidentally dropped this one, so I don't know if it will pop. That one's still, I'm waiting for the pop. You can still see the indent there, so that hasn't popped yet, but I think these 2 have. It's so exciting when they pop. You're like, oh, I did it.